lights are growing dim. There's no one left but me and him. When next we meet in Frankenstone, don't come alone.
Hey Scooby fans, it's Joel coming at you from Planet Scooby, and today I just want to do a little showcase on a little project I've been working on. It's a Vincent Van Ghoul in a crystal ball kind of projector effect, and I thought I'd share it with you right now. It is still a work in progress. I'm not happy with the result. I'm thinking of new ways on improving it, but that's going to take a while, and I'm just going to take a break from this for a while too because I want to think about how to proceed to improve it. So I thought I'd just do this video now because I might not ever do this video in the future if I just get tied up with things or move on to something else. The inspiration for this project came from two sources. The first was the Haunted Mansion Madame Leota effect that they have at Disney World or Disneyland. I've been at Disney World twice. I've been on the Haunted Mansion ride twice, and I love all the cool effects they have during that ride. And this effect I read up about how to do about a decade ago, and it seemed relatively easy, something I could do, and I always intended to build it. I just never got around to it because you get busy with life and things kind of cost money too. It takes some money to kind of put something like this together. It's not expensive, but it's not cheap either because you got to buy a projector and you got to source a crystal ball and all that stuff, right? And then the second inspiration was Wendy Bridge, the artist Wendy Bridge. I'll leave a link below to her Instagram. I highly recommend you check it out. She does a lot of Scooby artwork as well as some amazing artwork for other things as well. She's a commission artist. Really cool profile. Link below. Check it out. But she did a Vincent Van Ghoul crystal ball centerpiece about, I want to say a year ago. I have no concept of time anymore with this blip we're in. This pandemic blip. Time has escaped me. But yeah, she had a cool Vincent Van Ghoul centerpiece. Really way better than the one I'm going to show you. Mine is sad and pathetic compared to hers. It has a, she's got like the clawed hand holding the crystal ball, and Vincent Van Ghoul looks super awesome. Really cool. And you would have thought when I saw her image last year, I would have put two and two together. Madame Leota projection and Vincent Van Ghoul. But sadly, I am not the sharpest tool in the toolbox. It just came to me about probably a month ago. And it came to me when we were filming a Scooby Addicts panel, which Nikki hosts. And when you do that panel, you do it on Zoom. And I have my Zoom setting too that whenever anyone's talking, you can see them full screen on my monitor. So whenever Wendy was talking, my eye was just kind of going towards that Vincent Van Ghoul crystal ball. And then about 2 weeks later, I finally clued in and said, I should do a Vincent Van Ghoul projection instead of Madame Leota. So that's where I am right now. Anyway, I'm just going to show you the process for that through a series of videos and pictures. If you want to make this project, first you're going to need a credit card because you got to buy a lot of things for something that is so simple. The first thing you're going to need is probably a styrofoam head. I got mine at the local dollar store. And you're also going to need some clay. I just bought this Crayola air dry clay and I put it on the styrofoam head. And then I just did like a flat as face possible as I could and built like a nose on it and just did some sunken eyeballs. And the clay was a bit of a nightmare to work with. As you can see here, it just cracked after 2 days. And I didn't know at the time how to fix it. I learned later how to do it, but I ended up using that whole tub of clay and running out at the last minute. And yeah, now I know how to do it a little bit better. So that's why I think going forward, I could do a better job and I could kind of smooth it out probably better and just kind of do it more according to his face. And here's the mask. I just kind of painted it white. I didn't smooth it out that great. I was more excited to just kind of get it done. I've been working on this thing for 2 weeks and I just was like, I've had enough. I want to test out if this projection will actually work and if it'll look cool. And then I just kind of pinned the wig down on the mask. Some people glue it down. I decided just to pin it down so I could always remove it and put another wig on if I want to do Madame Leota, or if I wanted to just do a better wig for Vincent Van Ghoul. And I chose this wig. This was just a Dracula wig. It's the closest thing I could find that looked to what Vincent Van Ghoul was. I am not an artist, so I could not come up with a better wig. And here is the whole thing in the crystal ball. And here is just an example of how it looks beside the crystal ball. As you can see, they're pretty much the same size. So if I were going to do this better in the future, I would use a smaller head. I would probably have to do a custom wig. I don't think I could buy one just off the shelf at a Halloween store. When you shove the head into the crystal ball, because the crystal ball and the head are relatively the same size, the wig kind of takes a crystal ball form, so it looks a little weird. And at first that bothered me, but then I'm like, well, crystal ball, supernatural. Who's to say it wouldn't look like that if crystal balls were real? I'd expect things to kind of bend in the light like this, perhaps, so it doesn't really bother me, but I don't love the look. Also, Vincent Price has more of like a squash head. It's, long and tall, and the crystal ball is round like a pumpkin, so you can't really put a long and tall head into the crystal ball that's life-size without things getting mashed up a bit. My head would not fit in the crystal ball. I had to cut it in half, and then I had to saw off some of the sides just to get it to even fit in there. Even then, it was a struggle. The nose kind of juts out a bit too much, so you have to tilt it going in. And when I did that, it scraped off some of the paint that had been dried for like 2-3 days. So yeah, a bit of a nightmare getting it in and out of that crystal ball. For the crystal ball itself, I wanted something large enough to fit the styrofoam head in, and I bought a broken prop off of eBay. It cost me something like $16, but it cost like another $30 to ship. So it was quite pricey when you factor in the exchange rate. It cost me about $50 just for that crystal ball. You could look for something like at a lamp store. You can find a globe light. You can also look on Amazon or on the internet for something called an acrylic sphere. So my best option that I felt for me was just to go with this broken prop. Sure, it came to $50, but in the long run, it was probably my cheapest option, given that I just wanted to finally get this project started. You can find clips of the hilarious House of Frightenstein on YouTube, of course, and that's where I took the majority of my sound cues from Vincent Van Ghoul. I also took part of it from the song Thriller. It's just his spoken word without the music. For the video, I just did some video editing, and I took a scene from the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. I just took a small scene, and I had to do it in a way. When you have something animated, like Vincent Van Ghoul's head is going to move around quite a bit, and you can't have that when projecting onto a static object. So I had to edit the video itself, so it was just kind of Vincent keeping his head quite still. And then I just edited the sound, and I'd insert just clips or images where he did not talk, where his lips were closed. So it just gave the impression that he was speaking. And this is something I can improve upon later too. I could probably find a better clip, and I could probably find better voice work as well. I could take it from any Vincent Price movie. For this one, I just used these two samples because there was no background music. I have a bit of a personal history with Vincent Price, as I did meet him as a kid. And this was back in the 80s. I want to say 1986. Because I remember knowing him from The Great Mouse Detective, and that's the year that movie came out, was 1986. And I had a friend, his name was Steven. He lived a bit of a distance away from me, but it was walking distance. It was a long walk. It would take me probably half an hour now to walk there as an adult, so it probably took me about 45 minutes as a young kid. And when I was at his house, he used to tell me that Vincent Price lived up the road from him, and I just thought he was crazy. I was probably 7 when he first told me this. I thought he was nuts. And I was a big fan of Vincent Price at that time. I knew him from this album specifically, Alice Cooper, Welcome to My Nightmare. Vincent Price did like a really cool introduction to it. And my brother had this. My brother was about 10 years older than me. And I just remember being fascinated by this album cover. And then when he played it, I was just fascinated by the music and Vincent Price talking. And then I knew him from a show that we had in Canada called The Hilarious House of Frightenstein. Vincent Price came to my city back in 1971, years before I was even born, and filmed for 3 days. And when he was here in the city, he fell in love with the town that I came from, and he bought a cottage, or he considered a cottage, but basically a house. I'm going to show it on Google Maps. It doesn't look much different than it did back in the 80s. And it was a legendary time for Vincent Price. People in Hamilton still talk about him doing this show. It's like a small cable show that he did, comparable to, like, if you've heard of Wayne's World, how they did their show on cable. This was something similar. Very, very low budget, a lot of props. They rented a lot of things, and everyone from Hamilton still talks about that. That's the city it was from, Hamilton, Ontario. And one thing everyone who worked on that show still remembers is Vincent Price showing up the last day with a 24-pack of Labatt Blue and just sharing it with everyone and just hanging out and just, telling stories. And everyone thought that was cool. And those who are still alive still talk about just how cool Vincent Price was. And of course, I knew him from movies like The Fly and House on Haunted Hill and Dr. Phibes and The House of Wax, the 3D one, and all those Edgar Allan Poe movies he did. I just knew him from so much. So when he told me, I also knew him from Michael Jackson's Thriller, which I think was 1983. But anyway, regardless, when my friend told me Vincent Price lived up the road, I thought he was nuts. And then about 2 years later, two or 3 years later, we were just walking, and my friend Steven ran up, and he's like, "Hi, Mr. Price." As a kid would do. We were about Leave It to Beaver age, just dumb kids doing dumb stuff in the summer. And to my surprise, it was Vincent Price. And it was classic Vincent Price. He just, he rubbed my friend Steven on the head, and he's like, "Oh, hello, young Steven. How are you today?" And he's like, "Who's your friend here?" And he's like, "This is Joel." And I was like, "Hi, Mr. Price. I'm a big fan of yours." And I was talking to him about his role in The Grace Mouse Detective, and I saw the film. And he's like, "Did you enjoy the film?" And I was like, "I loved it." And I was asking him questions about doing the Alice Cooper speech and Welcome to My Nightmare. And he's like, yeah, that was a lot of fun. Alice let me kind of improvise, and we had a grand time. He talked about the made-for-TV movie, and he asked me if I saw that, and I hadn't at the time. But yeah, we had a good little talk. I remember it pretty clear. So that is one reason why, Vincent Van Ghoul means a lot to me. I think 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo came out in 1985, but I don't think I got to see it until it aired later on Teletoon in Canada. So I don't think I saw it until about 1997, but I was aware of it at the time. So that is my little prop. It's not perfect, but it gets the job done, and I do plan on improving it like I mentioned in my video. I think, though, I'm just going to take a break from it, and I want to do some more cool effects with the projector. I want to do like a ghost of Vasquez Castle, the laughing, hysterical ghost we get. And I want to do it in a doorway, just using like mosquito net or mesh where it's transparent. I think that would be really cool. That's what I'm going to work on next. It's probably going to take me a year or so because gathering the proper materials sometimes is expensive when you add it all up. So I'm just going to take it month by month, purchase a little bit here and there because I need some mirrors, I think, and I need the mesh, the right mesh to work with. But anyway, that's another video at a future date. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, stay spooky.